Today I'm doing a play-by-play analysis of my World Championship semi-final game against Dave. I was at first gonna do this one with Dave, but then when he asked, I was still drowning in just way too much work. And so now, like 10 minutes ago, I found out I had a little bit of time now to do it, so I just figured, fine, I'll press record. If you're interested in upping your Vanguard skills right now, I do have a course, Vanguard Mastery. Link will be in the description. You can use the code Solemn for a discount. And hey, maybe you'll learn something for the upcoming Springfests. Of course, you have to keep in mind when you're playing an event like this, you're hella stressed. You've been playing all day. This was like many rounds into the event. So I do believe there's actually at least one misplay. So we're gonna be checking this out. Now we're doing the cuts. This stream is saying top 8, but this was actually top 4. Pretty important little thing here. Fist bump, of course. And then it was time to go into the game. So quickly putting it on stop here. You don't see the hands, but I can tell you, my hand, when I looked, I was like, shit. This hand sucks. And the main reason that it sucked was because I did not have access to a Reindeer, meaning this is like the boss you want to ride. If you don't ride this, you lose. We'll see what else happens here. You can see right here, if I put it on stop, I have the grade 3 searcher in my hand, which is going to be my ride, and we're basically going to be looking for the Reindeer. Again, you need to ride Reindeer. That's the most important thing. We already see I have one Pearl Sister, I think, in my hand. Draw from the V-Starter, and we're going to check our top 5. And I'm pretty sure I missed the Reindeer right here. So we check top 5. I see a Tirua there. If you see, this is a draw PG, a Bikun, a Tirua, I think a Seria, and a other draw. Pretty sure that is the cards in the top 5 right there. So I choose to just not take anything. Even though I think I was even missing grade 3s in general, you would rather G-assist into a Reindeer than ride a Tirua. So I just fail my top check, and we'll see, we'll go from there. So then I don't think I can do anything. I'm seeing a Kutire there in hand. I do have the Lizalot as well. So I'm going to call the Lizalot, and we're basically going to see what I find. Here we find a heal. Now note that finding a heal of Lizalot is awful because you cannot bounce it with Ange V, you cannot bounce it with Tirua, and it's one less heal in your deck. So it's basically just stuck there unless you find G-Ange or Eureka. And you don't really want to bounce it with Eureka because you want to bounce Kutire with Eureka. So overall, this is already annoying. Of course, it's going to be an attacker, it's not going to be bad, but overall, you don't really want to find triggers of Lizalot. So then I'm just passing, really nothing else you can do. And of course, now we're going to see if Dave finds what his deck is trying to do. And he does. He has his cat. It's basically the most powerful card in Gears together with the Enterana. As you can see in his hand real quick, an Enterana right here, which is of course very important. And with cat, he missed. So that's very painful. Of course, you don't want to be missing with cat because that would have been a 3+1. We also saw a glimpse of his grade 3 already, which is solid. Attacking with the Gear Cat. And of course, here usually you're going to be taking it because you just want to have the CB for Glacina or so forth, or Mirada in my build. We take, I believe that's another heal. I'm not sure. Something like that. That would be 2 heals out of deck. Not really ideal, but it is what it is. And then we're going to ride the Aqua, I think. Yeah, we see the Aqua right there, which will bounce back the Lizalot. Really, really solid. Now, do note that my primary thinking right here is I need my Reindeer. Like, it doesn't matter what else happens. Even if you have Kutire in your hand, you know, people say like, oh, Highlander is just, you know, try and draw Kutire. But it's like, no, try and draw Reindeer, then draw Kutire. So Aqua the Lizalot back, draw a card, drawing a draw PG right there, which is not really what we're looking to draw. Again, just desperate for that Reindeer. And so now I'm forced into the most awkward choice of my life, basically. I don't have a Reindeer, but I do have a Kutire. So if I keep the Kutire in my hand, I cannot G-assist for Reindeer. But if I throw away my Kutire, that means I'm playing this entire game without Kutire because I only play one. I've already done an entire, you know, deck profile and explained all those choices, so you can go check that out on the channel. But so now I'm thinking, do I give up Kutire? Do I give up Kutire to try and G-assist? So that's going to basically be the choice here. You see me making that choice. I'm just thinking, holy shit, why? In the end, I'm gonna decide to do it because it's all I can do. If you ride into Kutire and give up first stride against teammate, and you're losing anyway. So give up my Kutire. Dave at this time doesn't know that I play one, so maybe he doesn't react to it. But what I do have is the Pearl Sister sack. So I'm throwing away the Kutire, and people probably when they see this think, oh wow, he's super lucky. So it means he already has his grade 3 and his Kutire, and now he has Pearl Sister on top. And while that's true, Pearl Sister is a crazy sack. Not having your grade 3 is yikes. Basically gonna do that big onslaught with Aqua. Something else you might have seen in my hand is I think I saw a Eureka in there, meaning I also forgo Eureka-ing the heal guard back to my hand just to do this Pearl Sister onslaught. Because I was thinking, I'm already going first, and now I also have Pearl Sisters. If I can follow that up with a Reindeer, I'm in a really solid situation. Because if you give Steam Maiden time to stop start drawing 1 billion cards with Enterana and like riding down and so forth, you really don't want that happen. Eventually they will win with just endless resources that they're getting from sending back cats, redo Enteranas with the Time Leaper and so forth. Just doing the Pearl Sisters, hoping to hit that sack, hit nothing here, and then he hits, I don't know, nothing? Yeah, nothing. There we go. So that is very happy to see. Of course, our Pearl Sisters are now going to do a World of Hurt right here. So now he really needs to hit some defensives, hits the first defensive and hits the second defensive. So now the Pearl Sisters, one of them did its job, but the second one is, you know, not hitting for anything. Now that's a really easy quick shield guard from Dave right there. The Pearl Sisters are, of course, like one nutty sack right there. Then he does follow it up with the Enterana. You see me being excited for him because obviously, like, I know fully well I'm sacking with Pearl Sisters. So him having the Enterana, you know, getting the Gear Cat right here, of course, gonna do some crazy plussing. Now the question is if he has another Enterana, because again, if you do Pearl Sister bashing onto Steam Maiden, sure, you're very happy because you push them, but if that means they now have CB to do like double Enterana or even sometimes triple Enterana, you're feeling awful about it, but you had to, of course. So you're always kind of in an awkward corner. This is also why Gear Chronicle plays like the countercharge crits usually to be able to use like multiple Enteranas. So you can't really deny it either that way. So finds the heal right there, which is pretty solid information because it means that he's not playing many heal guards, or maybe it's a 3-1 split or something like that, but at least you have the info. It's not 4 heal guards. So getting that heal. Another reason that they... Oh, yeah. Before I start talking, there we go. I'm laughing. I'm just like, yeah, man, it's fine. I sack you with double pearls. There we go. You can sack me with the double Enterana. That's all good. I do like bantering in real life a little while playing, as long as both players, you know, are comfortable with it. Doing the double Enterana, which is a fat plus, of course, because Enterana gets you a cat, that's +1, and then the cat gets you a card, that's +1, and then the Enterana, after attack, gets you another card, that's +1 again. So that's a +3 seeing an Enterana. So if you see 2 Enterana, that's a +6, which is just a lot of advantage. It's a crazy, crazy card. It's basically like back in the day you had Sanctuary Guard and you played Benon Miron. This is Benon Miron on steroids. Or well, Sword Me Richard was before that. So doing the check and misses. So we've had 2 cat misses so far, I think, out of the 3 cats that were activated, which does hurt. But again, Enterana to Ice is already a +6, so now a +5, I'm guessing. Hits the heal. Very, very useful to hit the heal here, because that way, of course, the Pearl Sister really didn't hurt at all. Took a damage from the Vanguard and a damage from the Pearl, and then the second one was now a quick shield because of the double defensive. So now being able to heal down really takes a little bit the edge off, let's say, because if that didn't happen, then the Pearls, you know, put in just insane amounts. So kind of stabilizing here, very solid. We see Myrtoa go to damage there. That doesn't really matter in this kind of matchup because it's a lot of going to be riding down and so forth. So now Enterana does its attack. I'm thinking like if I guard too much here, then I cannot G-assist, or at least like I will ride down and then he will ride up and I will instantly die. So while the Pearls are awesome, I know for a fact my hand needs to be ready for a G-assist, so I cannot guard anything here. Like I had to take this one and now I'll take this one. I do get a defensive here, which is pretty useful. And then the Enterana does the top check, finds that heal. So now we know he has like a lot of shield there. And then finally another big Enterana. Not sure if I'm taking this. Again, I don't really remember exactly what my hand was here, but I didn't have the luxury, you know, of guarding too much. So I might be taking that as well. I don't know. I took a defensive though. So maybe it's was it just a 5? Okay, sure. It's fine. And then the Enterana once again doing a big plus here. Here, if he takes the 3 or the counter charge, basically depends on what kind of 3 access he already has and if he plans to just ride up and stay there or ride up and ride down. We'll see. Once again, that Enterana, okay, getting rid of the 3 and taking the 0. That tells us at least that there's at least 1 3 in his hand already. And usually if they do the ride down strategy, we should assume that there's at least 2 gray 3s in that hand already. So now we're going to draw a card, and this is so funny. I was ready to G-assist. I was thinking I'm dead. I was like, yeah, sure, I have Pearl Sisters, but I don't even have a 3. And so I top deck and I find myself my Reindeer. So I'm like, yeah, this game loves me right now. So I do find the Reindeer, very happy. Otherwise, this would have been a non-game right here. Calling the Yuika here. Do note that I have an Aqua as my grade 2 here. So this Yuika behind the 1 is gonna bounce it. And then when I ride down, Aqua will bounce the other one. So my 2 Pearls will actually be safe from any kind of like ride up, do Kurunta on my Pearl Sister. So if you don't know how that interaction works, basically Steam Maiden can Time Leaper into Kurunta, and then Kurunta can bottom deck a Pearl Sister, and now you no longer have Pearl Sister access. But so by Yuikaing one of them to my hand and then riding down into Aqua bouncing the final one, it's basically safe. I saw some Japanese players on Twitter very excited when they saw that play, so I figured I'd quickly explain. So here, Reindeer Reindeer. Of course, Reindeer is like a crazy powerful card because sometimes it can just high roll into the stratosphere. Also important, which some people might not know, I put the force on the Vanguard usually because sure, if I have like a force on a Pearl Sister and then I find exactly Lupina, that's insane, right? Finding Lupina when your forces are spread on Pearl Sisters, sure, you're winning. But in any other scenario, when you check top 10 and you find something else, that force being on a rearguard sucks ass. It's really only Lupina. Like, sure, you can say, oh, but on Olivia, it's also really good. Sure, but that's only like 20k total shield, which is good. But on Lara, you really don't want it. On Ange, you really don't want it. Like, always basically want to have 10k on your Vanguard because you're gonna be swinging twice with it. And also, if you swing for 13 at your opponent and they basically heal guard or like safe no matter what happens, your second Vanguard is like a 15k. If you don't put a force on your Vanguard, your whole turn is kind of weak except for on the rear guard swings. And my rear guards are already like 28 and 36 here. Force on Vanguard here because in anything that I find except for Lupina, that's optimal. So now, of course, he's only at 2 damage, but he does know this turn is going to be like ridiculous, right? Luckily, he has plus so much from the cats that his hand is so big that he can probably, you know, survive anything, but it's more so that if he takes too much damage here, and then next turn might become a bit harder to guard. Yuika quickly just checked if I gained the power. At least I think that's what he asked. So yeah, now we're going to Reindeer, do that drive check, hit the heal here, which is really solid because we couldn't really guard last turn all that well because we were planning on G assisting. Second check is a Resius. Resius really good in the late game, but we don't get the luxury of a late game here in the Reindeer Steam Maiden matchup. Need to discard 2 cards. Again, you don't really like discarding 2 cards, and you see me here discard the draw PG because I know for a fact this deck is going to be like multi-attacking like mad, and I don't have really much hand, so draw PGs kind of suck then. And then the Resius, again, Resius is crazy in a late game, but the way this game looks right now, it's not going to be a late game, right? So then Reindeering, and we're going to check top 10. Everything is always going to be Highlander because I only play 1 Katire, so this is always going to hit. And in our top 10, sadly, we don't hit anything but Lupina and Tirua. Now the thing is here, Tirua doesn't do anything because we really don't want to give him Katzen and Taranas, and we don't want to bounce our Pearl Sisters. So Tirua would only bounce a Yuika, but Yuika is the way we ride down. So we don't want to grab Yuika. We want to grab the Lupina. Yeah, Lupina, again, if I had my force marker elsewhere, sure, I would have been extra happy with Lupina. But any other thing I found, Aneska and so forth, I wanted that force marker here. So now I'm still going to have like some fun multi, so it's really not all bad or anything like that. But again, having the forces spread there would have been sick. So Lupina will be able to restand the Pearl, but it won't be able to restand the other side. Luckily, the Lupina will, however, be a 23, which is a fair bit stronger. I also saw him add 2 V heals so far, so we also don't know of any heal guards on this attack right here. Because heal guarding on this attack would be strong, like 23 into a 35. You don't love to see it. We attack with our big Pearl Sister. I think we saw a heal, right? So this is like 28, 38, 48 now. Big chunky thing. Also, I quickly just want to say, look at how beautiful the stream is right now. Like we have the damage here. We have Maxim, Dave. Pretty cool. Also, the flags are saying like, oh, they qualified in Germany because neither of us are German, but we both qualified in BCS Germany. Actually, funnily enough, we both played each other in the finals, BCS Germany. So this attacks for big Pearl Sister. Taking those 2 damage, that must have not been fun. Also, no defensives on that damage. But again, he does have a really big hand, so he should be fine overall. Restanding that as well. Yikes. Yeah, finding Lupina is solid. With an extra force marker, it would have been even more solid. Do you want to risk that? I don't know about that. So usually Vanguard first, then rear guard. Unless all your targets are gone in your deck. That's another option. You know, if your targets are only Olivia and Lupina, then you might reconsider. But that shouldn't happen that early on in the game when you're forced to make that choice. So let's see a bit of a think, because again, like here, he needs to think a lot. There's only so many cards in your hand, and this is still like a big onslaught. Does have the heal guard here, which is really solid. Again, like 35 into 23, and only 1 drive check right here. And we get another heal. That heal doesn't do anything here, but that's okay. We do know we have 2 heals in here, but do note that those heal guards are turned off now. So now we swing with this side, even though this side is bigger, because once Yuika boosted column attacks, the Pearl Sister will go back to hand, and this one will lose its power buff. So here we PG, and I quickly ask what it was. It's the order to do the fancy play. I quickly wanted to reread what it did again, but not that it would show up again. And then the Pearl Sister attacks for another chunky number, though not quite as high as this number, after which Yuika uses effect, blasts out the Reindeer in order to add back the grade 1, and then we get to do a ride down at the end of the turn. So Lupina goes to the bottom of the deck, Aqua triggers, Aqua puts the Pearl Sister, and boom, just like that, you are safe from timely Percurrent top plays. So then you draw a card with the Aqua as well. Draw into a Reindeer, which is the rewrite, which is fucking crazy. Though to be fair, we did like go through the deck a fair bit already, but still that was a solid redraw. Usually you're forced into maybe like an Ange or something. If you didn't draw it, you might do an Ange or a Tirua. It can't be a Lupina because that's at the bottom. So now pass it back to Dave, and now Dave is kind of forced into a very awkward situation because clearly this kind of matchup often comes down to write down plays, right? So I do a push, I write down. He does a push, he writes down, and so forth. But because I opened Pearl Sisters and then did like, you know, a pretty solid push on his hand, despite his double Enterana, the 2 defensives and the 1 heal there, his hand is still not capable of doing like this endless write down. Because he's a very strong Steam Maiden player, he knows, okay, if we do this write down, sure, I might not die next turn, but I will die the turn afterwards. So he needs to force this to a later game. And the thing is, if Steam Maiden here rides up, my hand actually isn't that big. It's like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards or something like that. Again, I can't really count it from this angle, but I think 7 or so cards is correct. And so if he rides up, that play with the V Steam Maiden, like the Clan Collection one, isn't bad. Like it's quite a push. So if I'm forced to discard a lot, that will actually put a lot of pressure because remember, he knows that one of those cards in my hand has to be a rewrite because I need to reach to 3. Then I need something to stride. And I have 2 Pearl Sisters in there, which I kind of don't want to lose. So if that's a 7-card hand, that's at least 4 cards that I don't want to guard with. So I have 3 cards to make sure I don't die. And also, if I'm forced to guard that much, then all I really got is my ride up, my stride cost, and my 2 Pearl Sisters. That means I don't have the discard for Heltrada. So by riding up here, he actually knows he's not Heltradaing me, which is huge. So he does have to think about it quite a while, which makes a lot of sense. You know, he's checking all his options, just making sure that there's nothing he overlooked. But just the fact that he rides up here is like a very, very important moment in the game because I won't be able to Heltrada him because of the amount of cards in my hand. So we see him think, but at the end he will ride up here and that will push it to a point where I cannot Heltrada. You're basically forced into, do I get to stride? Do I not get to stride? Do I keep my Pearl Sister? Do I not keep my Pearl Sisters? Also, if you guard with Pearl Sisters here, you know the game will never go long enough to where you can actually reuse them. Like, people might be thinking, oh, but you have Sistico to put them back, but like, nah. You will never have the comfort where you have hand to not only search for Sistico with Katire and then put it back and then search again with Katire for the Pearl Sister to then call it and so forth. You should assume that if you discard your Pearl Sisters here, they are gone. Except for if you reach Megiddo. He rides up, which is definitely the correct play here, but it feels alien because if you play this matchup a lot, you will notice very, very often you're not striding. When Noman and I were testing this, we were actually memeing that like, oh, we're playing V, haha. We were not reaching stride very often. You know, making the alien painful decision to ride up because it's definitely correct. And then try and whittle my hand down so that I definitely cannot Heltrada. Because you know, no matter how big your hand is going to be, if you're at 5 and you have Pearl Sister access and you're getting a Heltrada turn fully, it's over. He ends up getting the grade 2 extender here, which is also very, very solid because don't forget, this deck can very easily just play V Steam Maiden. The other variant, if you're only playing this grade 3 and you're not really playing her or only one or something, you're not very often going to be able to play V. But here you just do a V turn, right? You have this Steam Maiden girl. I don't remember if he played the grade 1 as well, but again, you're just going to do a V Steam Maiden turn. It's also going to put in a lot of damage. And again, I'm only at 2, but I only have 7 cards and 4 of those I want to keep. I'm going to be forced to guard quite a bit here. There's a Rollock and a heal. So it's Rollock, heal, Reindeer, Pearl, and then one more card. I don't really remember. I think it's one more card or something like that. Now I'm quickly checking numbers because again, any number that's changing here, I could also just die. Like, don't forget that. If I have the ability to stride, I probably have a 3, Pearl, so that's 15k shield over 4 cards. Again, could also be a stride crit, but let's just assume Highlander usually has more grade 3s in their hand because a bunch of targets are required for Reindeer, or grade 4s, you know, just shieldless stuff. So then Enterana finds a PG, which is really important because if I start doing Vanguard restands, that PG, you know, can entirely change the game. Then the Vanguard attacks for a not very impressive number, again, because he had to put the 4s on rearguard because there's going to be quite a number of rearguard multi-attack here. So here I no guard because I don't have hand whatsoever. So no triggers here. Then I take a damage, nothing, just a melty. I'm at 3 damage right here. And then now it's multi multi-attack with this girl. So I think I guard with a 15 here. I don't really remember. And then the CB1 to get multi-attack with her. Very solid, actually, that he put this tree into his bind earlier there and then took the crit. So maybe he was already planning on riding up like much earlier. So then this one makes quite a number. Pretty sure I just have take it. I do have a Rollock in hand. I need hand. I need to keep my Pearl Sisters. So then we get the Steam Maiden ability, putting here another big boy. I think that's 25. So that's going to be the Rollock. So now I'm at 4. And the rest of my hand is basically my Ride, my Stride, and my 2 Pearls. Or maybe just my Ride and my 2 Pearls. I don't really remember. Yeah, it looks to be Reindeer and 2 Pearls. So now we have Reindeer, 2 Pearls, and a crit in hand. Which, funnily enough, if I wanted to Stride, that was the best top deck of my life. But I don't want to Stride. You will notice that I will grab my Force and I will spread them because Pearl Sisters are insane. And now I need to consider, is there any Stride in my deck that, you know, is good? But there isn't. A pure vanilla Reindeer turn is actually better, especially if you have Pearl Sisters, than most Strides that Bermuda has access to when you can't Heltrada. And I can't Heltrada because it's a 3 discard and I only have 1 card in my hand. So I call them down, and now I'm thinking, and I think like this is technically a misplay. I'm gonna call down this, even though he's already at 3, but like that doesn't do anything, right? Because that doesn't make any magic number unless I find a 4. If I find a 4, that's a magic number. But I'm boosting, yeah, so I probably called it down thinking I had a 4 and then just boosted out of natural reflex here. Basically, maybe getting greedy or something, but so that's definitely wrong. This should have just not boosted or not been called, one of the two. So no matter which thing I was thinking, I made a misplay here. Not that that one in particularly mattered. I am basically aware that this is my last turn because I have no hand. I know that this turn is going to be everything. And now it really depends on what the top 10 finds, you know. So I'm going to be drive checking 2 cards. And then depending on what I find in that drive check, I will get like trigger power, but then I will have to discard it all to do my Reindeer re-ride. And then I need to kill right here and now, basically. Unless I check a defensive over trigger or something like that. So now he really needs to think, obviously, because while his hand is solid, it is not unbreakable either. So what we definitely know is that he has a heal in hand and then a PG. He now G-guards here, which is important because it gives him Bearlock access. And he Rafanas into TikTok. And then Rafana puts him up to... Wow, this was a while ago. Makes him big at least. Now he needs to think for everything else. All I'm thinking here is basically, please check an over trigger. Seeing Olivia here really sucks because I know Lupina is at the bottom of my deck. So I cannot actually do Lupina on Pearl Sister. And I just checked my Olivia. And those two are like the best targets here for sure. So very sad about finding the Olivia here. Really would have liked to see the Olivia in the top 10. But hey, that's what happens with Highlander. You have X amount of good ride targets. You know that you're gonna get something good, but how good isn't really up to you, you know? So we put the crit and the power somewhere, and then we throw away those 2 cards for the top 10. And this is basically the most important moment in the game, in my opinion, because I actually have 2 ride options. We saw Ange and we saw Tirua. And within Ange and Tirua, there actually are multiple lines of play, and I ended up going for the very greediest one. So we have Tirua, and if you ride into Tirua, the only way that thing is going to be restanding is if you bounce your opponent's board. Because if you bounce your own board, well, you don't want to do that. These 2, again, they are triggers. Like I said, Lieselot finding this actually matters. Like Lieselot finding that trigger, that thing has never done anything. It has just chilled there every turn. It has just been there stuck because neither Ange V nor Tirua V can bounce it. Then this other trigger, okay, I called it there just as a booster. It should have been standing for if I found a grade 4. But so Tirua, the only way it's going to restand is bouncing your opponent's board. If you bounce your opponent's board and he has PGs, you can be pretty sure that he has not only guard, but also the ability to PG your multi-swing because you just gave him all the discard fodder in the world. Now, if you don't bounce them, he gets Bearlock access, like solid Bearlock access. So my thinking was, if I go Tirua here and he has PGs, and we already know he has at least 1 PG because we saw him at that with Enterana, I'm fucked. My other thinking is if I go Ange, there's again 2 lines here that are created. I can Ange, and my first swing bounces his board, turning off Bearlock, but that's just a worse Tirua, right? But I can also do the greediest play of my life. And my greedy play was basically, maybe he just doesn't Bearlock his entire board away. That would be a misplay, but I was thinking that's my out. My out is literally him basically being stressed or being tired from a long day, and him just not seeing the fact that he needs to bear log the entire board away. Because if he bear logs his entire board away, I don't actually have the 4 to call something new with Ange. But he had to see that play. I was thinking, if he doesn't see that, he's an insane player, but I was thinking, we're both tired. It's been a long day. Maybe he just doesn't see it. Then I auto win. Like, I 100% win if he doesn't see it. Whereas I was very afraid if I bounce this, we already saw a PG, I was really afraid that he would live. With hindsight, I think Tiruaing here was correct. I think picking Tirua, bouncing his board, and just saying, fuck it, I hope you don't have the PG, was the real out, because obviously Dave is good enough to still, after such a long day, know that he needs to bear lock his board away. But again, I was thinking, fuck it. I don't think Tirua was my out. I didn't think so. Again, you don't really know your opponent's hand. So I end up going for Ange. Said, fuck it. Maybe he doesn't see it. I was so afraid. I already saw that PG. I thought, you know, Tirua won't be enough. So now I'm gonna do a rear guard. Hope one of them, you know, stays. Also, good thing about this is if he bear logs those all away before the Vanguard swing, that kind of means he's over guarding. It's pretty awkward to have to use your entire bear log by this point, and you will actually see that. You will notice that his hand dwindles very, very fast here. We swing here. Once again, that heel guard just chilling there. That shit's just stuck there for all eternity. It was just stuck there. Please a lot finds a heel guard early, and you open Pearl Sisters or any type of beaters, that thing's just gonna rot there until turn 4 or so. So here, PG, because it's a very, very large thingy. And then here actually you could argue that maybe I could have Ange swung already. No, probably not. I do know that at the time of this, I was thinking maybe I still pivot. I was thinking maybe maybe I just pushed him up now, but no. So now I swing with this, and he's thinking. So here I'm thinking, fuck, he's thinking? He doesn't know he needs to bear lock. He fucking doesn't know. Maybe this is it. Then he, I think, asks about Ange's skill if it's only normal units. I think just to confirm. Yeah, so he quickly asks. And when he checked, I was like, fuck, he asked. When he checked that, I was acting here. Like, I was like, yeah, you can read, whatever. Here I go, like, I do this because I'm like, fuck, you knew. Very good player. Too fucking bad. But yeah, so he just does the big bear lock, which again is like, pretty sure it's over guarding by a landslide, which is really solid for us because he actually used this PG here earlier. So now this Ange is actually pretty threatening. I am gonna bounce because it does give me some excuse of an hand. Bounce those 3, which gives us a force marker and power. So this is still gonna be a very chunky Ange. Turns out, you know, having that force there is actually pretty solid. Putting that force there becomes a big Ange. And then I don't get to surge because I only bounced 3, which is, you know, the bear lock play. Like doing that bear lock, removing everything is crucial here. Counting out the powers real quick. I'm not gonna do that right now. I think it's not much though. It's just plus 10, right? So it's 10, 23, 33, 43. So there's a 43 Ange. He has that G guard here that gets chunky. It ends up being a 1 to pass. So here we have 1 drive check, and he basically leaves it at a 1 to pass. So I'm thinking, yeah. So we do the quick fist bump. You know, let's see if I hit through it, and I don't. Too bad. So he's very excited, obviously. Left that to the 1 to pass, putting away the power. I'm just thinking, fuck, guess I lost. Because of course here, you know, he's gonna get a turn. I ride back down into a 3, so I can't put my force here. But I have a tiny fucking hand. You know, I have Betty, Pearl, per Yuika, and Yuika only has 5k shield, so it's a 30k shield. So I know I'm not living. Like, if he gets to stride... Oh, he kept a 2, actually. Oh, okay. So he had in his hand the 2 to do multi-attack, and then he had to top deck into... Whoa, okay, into the stride folder. So he finds the stride folder. I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess he told me that was a top deck, and very sad, because now he not only has the stride, schlish my balls, and he also has the grade 2 multi-attack. So now I just know, fuck, I'm dead. Here I'm just like, you know what? I need to over-trigger or I'm just done. So he swings, and I am able to guard that, pretty sure, just a 10k. Here at this point, you already know it's fucked. Like, this Schlishma is gonna create multi-attack, and then this thing is gonna do even more multi-attack, and I'm at 4, I can only take 1 damage. So I'm basically thinking, okay, I need to OT. And it's kind of ridiculous that that's something you need to be thinking about, right? Like, you never want to get to that point. Last turn, at least, any trigger would have passed. But here, literally only OT at 6 or at 5 saves me. So I guard for 10. Because the only reason I guard for 10 here is because I'm like, well, if I heal, maybe it'll still be fine. But there's already a heal gone here, and is there 1 more or 2 more? I don't know. So here I guard again, and then he attacks, but I mean, it's gonna be crazy multi regardless, because you get like your 2, and then I don't know, remember, yeah, another 2 even, wow, and then that 3. I don't know if he has soul left for this one, but I mean, look at my hand, it's gone, right? I need to hit some OT magic here. 1 card in hand. Dono Reindeer is so crazy. If you leave me with like nothing, I push this up, and then I find new targets in top 10, we're playing again. So like if I OT at 6, we have a game again, even though I have, you know, virtually nothing here. But of course, relying on OT kind of cringe. I think I confirmed for him with heals or whatever. So he finds nothing. Sag, okay. Here I am hoping for OT, and that's no OT. Very sad. So then he is thinking about his guarding patterns, because this is 20 and this is 30. So now he swings, and I'm just thinking OT, 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 OT. Obviously, you're at Worlds. Yep, you see me going up. No OT. Okay, GG. All right, good game. Dave, our winner. Congratulations. Very, very exciting game. I had a lot of people go like, oh, this was the most exciting game for me to watch, blah, blah. So thank you so much for that, of course. Dave, incredible player, of course, ended up becoming the world champion. And I ended up then, after this, you know, semifinals, playing it out for 3rd and 4th. So then I ended up getting 3rd place. That was the world championship semifinals that I got to play in. Of course, super honored, excited to get this far regardless. I hope you found this interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I don't get to do react stuff like this very often because, well, there's not that many streamed games for Bushiroad, of course. If you want to up your Vanguard skills, you can go pick up a Vanguard Mastery. Link in the description. Use the code Solemn for a discount, and I will see you soon.